Hello everybody, in today's video I'm talking to you about how not to wither away after 55 years old. And the reason I'm making this video is it seems like I've noticed just recently people in my age group, and I was born on the cusp right between baby boomers and Gen Xers, but a lot of people my age are not doing as well as, say, my parents' generation or even my grandparents' generation. And I don't see why people over 55 shouldn't be able to live the best years of their lives. And so that's why I've created this video where I go into some of the tips on how to have a good life over 55 and some of the theories on why I think people in my age group seem to be suffering more than they used to in prior generations. So I personally don't see any reason why, if we've made it to 55 years old, we shouldn't be celebrating. Hey, we were smart enough to make it this far in our lives, and we should be happy and looking forward to the next 25, 35 years of living and celebrating that, rather than withering away like I'm seeing some of my colleagues and friends do. And so I've come up with this list of 6 things that I think are causing us to be more depressed and unhealthy than our previous generations, and a tip of 10 things that I think we can do to get over that and make the rest of our lives be the best of our lives. So the first thing I see happening with our generation is we're experiencing a lack of respect, and maybe I would call it more of disrespect from the younger generations. Remember when we were younger, it was respect your elders, and we did. We were always kind to our parents' generation and our grandparents' generation, and it seems to be a lot different today. It seems like the younger generations not only are disrespectful to their elders, but they like to blame our generation for everything that's wrong with their lives. For instance, I see a lot of younger people saying that I can't afford a house because of baby boomers. They made the housing prices this high, and I'm like, really? It's my fault? Your house price is too high? A couple things. It's like, well, maybe supply and demand is making the price so high. And then maybe if you would have bought a house when you were my age, when I bought my first house, right now you would be able to afford a house because you'd have $100,000 worth of equity in your home. So I am myself getting tired of being blamed for everything that's wrong with the younger generation. And that's sad, and that's something we have to deal with. The other thing is, more and more I've noticed of my friends, people's kids, they become adults and suddenly something will happen. And it's probably like the same things that happened to us when we were their age and we just were like, yeah, that sucks, but let's move on. But I see a lot of people whose kids are cutting their parents out of their lives. Now, if you were somebody who was abusive to your children or didn't do anything for your children, I could see them cutting themselves out of your lives. But I'm seeing people that I'm like, what the heck did you even do? You were always nice to your kids. I remember how you treated your kids, and now suddenly they're refusing to speak to their parents ever again. And what's even worse is a lot of them are cutting their grandchildren off from their parents. I'm just not going to let you see my kids ever again. And it's like, wow, not only you're hurting your parents for no real reason, but now you're hurting your own children and denying them that relationship with their grandparents, which is always fun. I always love my memories that I had with my grandparents growing up. So I see that. That's very disturbing for people our age. Another thing is, more and more young people seem to be struggling, and our generation seems to feel bad and take on the responsibility of curing the kids, our kids, thinking that we need to bail them out of their financial mistakes. And while that is noble, and then maybe if you are in a financial position that you can do that, we shouldn't feel like we are responsible for saving our kids for everything that goes wrong in their lives. I mean, we set them up the best that we can, but we are not responsible for saving our children and everybody else that comes around us. So that's another issue I think that weighs down our generation. Now, the number 4 problem I see our generation is facing, maybe more so than our parents' and grandparents' generation, is having to deal with the failing health of our parents. So I have noticed more people my age have a parent or both parents with dementia, and it seemed like in the prior generations it wasn't as prevalent. Yes, it happened, but I'm talking like every person that I know has at least one parent that had severe dementia, and when I was younger it was, every 4 or 5 people that I knew had a parent or grandparent with the dementia. So the health and trying to take care of our parents, because once they've got the dementia, for instance, they can't take care of themselves. You have to take care of them. So more and more of us seem to be taking on the care of our parents, and then sometimes the care of our children. In my case, I have a child with a disability that I will always have to be looking out for. So it's kind of like the sandwich. You know, my mom is dealing with bad health and my child has special needs that I need to deal with. So putting us in that sandwich position is also very difficult. Another thing, number 5, is inflation has been so high and so out of control that even the best laid plans, I have saved my whole life for retirement, and because of inflation being, 10 times more than it probably should have been, the money that I saved isn't nearly enough. And so I'm going to have to work way longer than I planned, or just live in less ideal situation than I had planned for when I was younger. And finally, number 6 is a lot of us have developed some bad stress management techniques over the year, and those are catching up for us. If some people have become, heavy drinkers, or maybe done drugs, or had gambling issues, and if you started that 20 years ago and now that you're 55 and over, those things can really add up. So that is the negative thing, but I want to put that in perspective. If you're like wondering, why am I sad? Why am I sadder than my parents? Some of those 6 reasons could be why, and then just when you notice that, say, oh, it's not my fault, this could be happening. But now I'm going to give you 10 reasons or 10 things that you might be able to do to help thrive in your golden years rather than spiral into a deep pit of depression or pass away earlier than you should. Okay, number 1 thing that you can do, it's probably more important than any of the things on this list, is to develop a positive mindset for healthy aging. So you have to think positive. If you get into the spiral, and I've done this before in my past, I know how it can be. It's oh, I'm not as healthy as I used to be. I get winded when I go up the stairs. Or, oh, I'm not as pretty. Look at all these lines and my gray hair. Nobody will find me attractive. If you start thinking that way, bad things and depression is going to be sucked into your life. But you need to instead think, hey, look, I'm 55 and I'm going to retire soon. Or, hey, I don't have to work at that stupid job anymore where people are always calling and yelling at me. Or, hey, I'm 55 and the rest of my life is going to be fantastic. If you develop that mindset, your golden years are going to be way better than they will if you just sit around thinking, woe is me. Okay, number 2 is it's very important for you to develop social connections and meaningful relationships and friendships. So of course it's very good if you can have a good relationship with your children, but it's also important to have connections with people your own age. Now, a lot of people my age end up living alone. A lot of people have lost their spouse, so it puts an extra layer of challenge in your life if you live alone, but there are certainly ways to get around that. I found that I have more friends over 55 than I did when I was younger. You don't have to do it from your job. If you get more involved in activities like going to church, for example, or joining clubs, or if you're going to a gym, for example. I used to do this when I was younger. I would start talking to people after a class at the gym, and then maybe you suggest one day, oh, let's go out for coffee, or let's go out for lunch after class. You be the one to initiate those friendships, because sometimes people are shy and they don't think of that. And another thing you could do is start thinking about people you were once close with that you've lost touch with, and just give them a call on the phone and say, hey Joe, I haven't talked to you in a while, how are you doing? And maybe just talking on the phone is a good way to have that social connection. But we as human beings, it's very important that we stay socially connected to people, because that's just how our genetic makeup is, and to maintain or develop new friendships is very important in your golden years. Okay, number 3 kind of ties into number 1, but it's working on mindfulness and living in the moment. You can enhance this a lot by practicing some meditation skills, but other things are just to be observant. So like you wake up in the morning, say, and it's snowing, rather than it's snowing, it's cold, I don't want to go outside. Maybe instead you look outside and oh, look how pretty it looks with the snow coming down, and look how the light on the trees is reflecting and making these prisms or beautiful reflections in the snow. So try to be mindful and thinking about, like, instead of, oh, I've got nothing going on today, how you could get up and you can have a cup of coffee and think about, hey, I don't have to go to that miserable job that I had for 40 years. So start being mindful, looking out at the things around you and not dwelling on the past or not worrying about the future, focusing on what's going on right now in the present moment. That can really help you out. Okay, suggestion number 4 is to stick to the financial plan that you made for yourself. And I'm hoping by now, by the time you're 55 and older, that you have done some financial planning and some saving. So the important part of this tip is to not get distracted and deviate from the plan so that something will happen and in the future you'll be regretting it. So for instance, don't go out on a shopping spree. I live in Sedona, Arizona. Super easy to go out shopping for a day and you see these beautiful pieces of art in the gallery and it's like, ooh, this nice painting is $5,000, like it's tempting to like, oh, I'm just gonna buy this because I deserve it, and then you screw up your whole financial plan when that credit card bill comes in. Or, oh, I'm gonna go out gambling with my friends because you said that the social connection is important, so I'm going to the casino. Now, I'm not saying don't go to the casino ever. What I'm saying is if you're gonna go to the casino, make a plan. Say, I'm gonna only spend $50 or I'm gonna only spend $100, and when I've reached that, I'm done gambling, so that you don't regret it later on. So sticking to the financial plan and not deviating outside of emergencies or small little things, that's very important to our future well-being and helping us to continue to thrive in our golden years. Okay, suggestions number 5 is to rekindle your hobbies and passions. You can develop new hobbies and passions. Like one of the things I've done as I'm older is getting into these video makings. I never did that when I was younger, partially because the technology wasn't so abundant and partially because, I was distracted by jobs and other things. So not only developing new hobbies and passions, but maybe rekindling some of your old hobbies. Like when I was younger, I was really into art. I took a lot of art classes. I have not done that in the last 6 or 7 years, but it's something that I hope to do to rekindle again as I get older, and this way I can develop or maybe rekindle my old friendships around art. I had a lot of friends from the art club, so reestablishing the old hobbies and maybe picking up some new ones, maybe going to the gym, maybe joining a hiking club. That will do a double whammy. It will give you something to look forward to, and it will give you the opportunity to make the social connections that are so important to us as we age. Okay, suggestion number 6 is to make sure you get enough sleep. So 2 things going on here. One is to not stay up too late and avoid sleep because you're working on some project. Go to sleep at a reasonable time. But the second important thing, this is something I've been struggling with terribly, is if you wake up at 3 in the morning to go to the bathroom and then you can't fall asleep again, that can be really difficult on the following day. So if that happens to you, like it happens to me probably 50% of the time, I suggest you go and do some research on what you can do to keep that from happening. There are a lot of good videos on this. I actually did a video myself on this, but there are probably better videos from doctors that have suggestions. I know Dr. Huberman has some great suggestions that I have learned since the last video I made on how to get enough sleep. But make sure you get enough sleep, and if you're having this problem with insomnia or waking up in the middle of night and not falling asleep, I would do research to make sure you can keep that from happening so that you reestablish your good sleeping habits. Okay, number 7 is if you are experiencing some depression or some mental decline, more so than in the future, I think you should immediately seek professional help. It's a lot easier than it used to be. There's not the social stigma. In fact, young people seem to think it's great to brag about their mental health issues. So there's not the social stigma that there used to be. I remember when I was young, if I had mentioned my depression, I would practically get slapped across the face just for bringing it up. Don't ever mention that again! So we don't have that going on. So if you're starting to decline, there are a lot of these online Zoom type therapists that you could go to. You could always call your health insurance provider and see what your options are. But if you're starting to slip into depression, seek professional help before it gets too bad. Number 8 is if you live alone, especially if you're feeling a little bit lonely, why not consider adopting a pet? I've always been a dog lover, and I think dogs are so good for your mental health, but you could do something else like adopting a cat. Cats are a little bit easier to take care of, or even a bird. Birds are actually harder to take care of, but a dog, a cat, some type of pet that you can connect it and you can cuddle with, that's good for your mental health as well. Okay, number 9, I'm not going to go too into detail on that, but it is to take care of your physical health. So important that you go to the doctor if you're having any kind of an ailment, that you eat properly, good nutrition, cut out all the sugar and the processed food, and get yourself into some type of mild exercise routine that will help you not only to live longer physically, but will keep you mentally sharp and mentally help reduce your odds of getting depressed. And finally, number 10 tip is to avoid stuff that will make your health, mental or physical, worse. Avoid drinking too much. Avoid drinking every night. Now, I'm not saying don't drink at all. I hardly ever drink anymore, and I used to when I was younger. I don't know. I don't find it that enjoyable anymore. But if you would occasionally go out and have a couple of drinks, or maybe drink only on the weekends, that would be okay. Avoid smoking. Avoid doing drugs. I am shocked at how many people over 55 use hardcore drugs. I'm surprised, but not good to do that at any age, but when you're older, that certainly increases your odds of early death or mental decline, physical decline. Also avoid, processed foods, high sugar foods, gambling, all those bad habits that are bad for you. If you would keep some of those 10 tips in mind, I think there's no reason you can't live your best life over 55. My name's Dawn Dickinson. The channel is Living Your Best Life Over 55. I hope you enjoyed the video. I make videos every week that are supposed to enhance the lives of our generations, Gen X and baby boomers. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you do, please consider hitting the subscribe button, hitting the like button. I post videos every single week, so I hope to see you back here again next week. Have a great week, everyone.